understand multiple perspectives on a different topic, right? So for example, if you're reading a book, you can actually listen to talks where there is criticism of the book, or you can really hear about the counterpoint, because you are hearing about the concept from so many different sides. That really helps you appreciate things at a very different level, and you are able to really imbibe it in a different way. I'll explain it in a different way. You know, I unfortunately during my graduation days was a day scholar. Right? I was very comfortable staying at home, and a lot of my batchmates were studying at home, studying at college, and they were always able to imbibe some of the concept better than me, because after class they, and especially during exams, they would spend hours and hours together debating and discussing those concepts, because different people are attacking your ideas, different people are critiquing your ideas. That really gives you a very different, well-rounded perspective to versus just reading a one-sided view from the author. Uh, what this really entails and what this really enables you to do is make better use of your time. So I typically listen to podcasts during my dead time, which is either during my commute or during my gym. So that really helps me make a great use of my time. So approximately 2 hours of listening every day. Also, the other important thing is that our minds are malleable, guys. And this is something that has been a learning for me, and this is something that I didn't believe it at first. But when I experienced it, I really learned it, is that our minds are actually malleable, and like muscles, if we exercise them, our minds actually become stronger. So because I have been listening to podcasts for the last 5 years, I never now listen to podcasts at 1x speed. I'm able to listen to it around 1.8 or even 2x speed. So that means that in 2 hours, 2 hours of listening every day, I'm able to consume 4 hours of content every day. 4 hours of content every day, 365 days a year for the last 5 years. That's the kind of information that I have gathered, and that has really had a transformational impact on me. So I already spoke about idea scaffolding. When you acquire ideas at a different rate, ideas start building upon each other, and that really opens up your mind. Learning to learn is a meta skill, right? And that is something that when you are learning so much, you are also learning to learn, and your mind becomes trained to learn. The last thing I'll say on this, and then I'll maybe pause for questions. There's a knock-on effect, guys. So because you're listening to so much of content and most of it is in English, one of the big advantages that you'll gain is that your English language communication skills will go up by several notches. You will never be hunting for words. You'll always find the right words that you want to use to express your thoughts. You will never struggle with pronunciation. You will always know the right pronunciation for words. You will never need to use subtitles for your movies. Right? That is something that is a change that you will see in yourself when you apply this. Right? So I'll just take a pause here if anybody has any questions on this particular thought.
So can you please suggest us some podcast channel as an MBA student that
Yes.
we should listen?
Okay. So firstly, I'll take away the MBA student part, right? Because I think one of the things that COVID has taught us, and one of the way the economy is moving, the way there are dire predictions that the skills that you're learning today might not be relevant in the future, right? Because the way AI is progressing. I think the idea is to become well-rounded individuals who learn a lot about a lot of things, right? So the channels that I really love listening to, and I would really recommend for you. One is obviously I spoke about London School of Economics. Right? Talks at Google is another. Right? The Joe Rogan Experience is one more podcast that I really enjoy, and he really invites the who's who in terms of both authors and opinion makers. The last one that is very close to my heart is Ecom Talk. It was started by somebody called Russ Roberts, and that's a great podcast. He came quite early into the podcast game. I think around 2006, and has been continuously doing 1 hour episodes every week for the past many years. A great wealth of information on economics and how economics get applies to life. I think because I have studied so much of his economics and then graduated to other channels, what I've realized is economics is actually the study of life rather than just the economics side. So that is something that helps you build a greater appreciation for it. But thank you for asking the question.
Thank you, sir.
Yes. Yes, please.
You talked about Joe Rogan experience.
Yes.
Don't you think that it is too much information which is becoming entertainment?
Okay. So, why do you say that? Because information has been around us, right? In fact, now what has happened is that the channels like Joe Rogan, uh, it has given an opportunity for things to arise organically rather than it be assigned by somebody like a CNN or a CNBC, right?
It's an opinion-based podcast.
Yes.
And they talk about a lot of stuff that they don't have degrees in or they probably are not well versed with. Something like COVID, they talk about a lot.
Yes.
Right. So don't you think that that spreads misinformation? And also, if that is too much information, which
Hmm.
you're not well versed with, it becomes entertainment instead of information.
Okay. So I think that if you read any book, I think the same thing can apply. But yes, it's a mass medium, so it makes it more accessible. If I take your point on COVID, I would not want to invite controversy on this stage. However, there are things that Joe Rogan has said which were actually proven right and which were actually conspiracy theories till very recently, and then they became right. So maybe the authoritarian sources are not, should not have the kind of monopoly on voice that they have right now, or they should have. Yes. Okay. Great. It's great to engage with you guys, and we'll keep engaging. I'll just move on to the next concept in the interest of time, and then we'll keep engaging. I'll be available after the session as well if you have any questions. Okay. Okay, so now I talk about the multiplier. So the multiplier, no prizes for guessing what the multiplier is. It's physical fitness. Now we've always, been taught this adage that a great mind requires a great body, and all of us know that we need to exercise better. So I'll not waste any time on why exercise is important. I'll spend more time on the hacks that I learned from him, which helped me continue and build it as a habit which I didn't have at that point in time. Right? The first thing is, you have to find ways to reduce friction. These are concepts that you would have also heard in books like Atomic Habits. How is it that you reduce friction and break down things into smaller steps so that things become easier for you? So I, as a person, when I used to hit the gym earlier, I would never find the motivation. I would always feel, okay, what is it that I need to exercise today? And I would always end up doing less reps, and I would be less committed to my exercise than I am today. Right? And this is something that many of us have struggled with it for long. Right? So Mayank really introduced me to CrossFit, and what I really like about CrossFit is, and it applies to any kind of exercise format. I don't subscribe to any particular methodology. But what I really like is the class format, which really takes me out of the equation. So what I have to do, I have to just show up at the gym. It's a class format. Typically, I do the 5:30 morning shift, and we are around 4 or 5 of us. There will be a class format. The coach will make us do the pre-workout, the warm-up stretches. The coach will make us explain the workout. The coach will make us do the workout. All of us work out together. So there is some team spirit there that helps us work, right? And then he'll make us do the cool-down stretches. I don't have to apply my brain at all. I just have to show up there. That really helps me, and that has really helped me continue this exercise for many years. Versus when I had to decide on my own. One of the things that I really do is that one of the things that I have learned in so many years, and this is something that you would have heard from many people, is it never gets easier. Every day, so I'm doing the 5:30 a.m. class, and I wake up at around 4:50 every day. And every day there is that one moment in my bed that I'm thinking, maybe I should quit today, maybe I shouldn't go for exercise today, and I'm just able to pull myself up, break it down into smaller steps, just get out of bed, just wear your shoes, and just get your body to the gym, because once you get your body to the gym, the coach takes over. Right? My gym posts workouts online for the week, right, on social media and on WhatsApp. And I make sure to never look at those workouts, because whenever I look at it, it's daunting, it feels daunting, and I feel that I'll just feel afraid in the morning to take that workout, right? So somewhere in life, it's also about tricking yourself right? And you have to learn to trick yourself to do the things that you want to achieve in life. Right? The other thing that I have really learned is stay injury free, guys. I think if you want to work out every day, or if you want to work out 6 days a week, your workout should never impact the rest of your day. I think that is something that has been really a learning for me, especially in the initial years. Always do your warm up and cool down stretches, even if you're not having a coach. Do your research. It is equally important to do your warm up and cool down stretches. Do your research on recovery techniques, right? And invest in recovery, because if you've done squats today in the morning or in the evening, and then all day you're finding it struggling to climb stairs, that's not a very pleasant experience. And I can see smiling faces in the room. You know who you are, right? You don't want that. You don't want that, guys. If you want, and I think it goes without saying that if you want to do something, it has to be continuous. Then only you'll get the gains. How many of you have heard of what is a foam roller? Okay, guys, you guys are in good company. But learn about these things, especially if you're doing squats. 5 minutes on the foam roller really saves you from all that trouble, and you'll thank me later, right? The last point that I make, and then I'll again open questions. I think what really makes you continue something, and that is something that has been a revelation to me. Man told me, and I didn't believe him. But exercise makes you happy, guys, and that is something that has been a great part of my life. I think that you might have heard, and many of you may know, exercise releases chemicals called endorphins in your body that make you feel happy. It creates a lot of satisfaction in the day. I wake up in the morning, I've already done my workout, I've already listened to 1.5 hours of content, I've already done something in my day, right? No matter what happens in my day going forward, I've already achieved something. That keeps me going, guys. That really brings happiness in my life. So that is something that I want you to reflect on. I think that can make a transformational change in your life. Okay, I'll just take a pause for questions. So it can feel very daunting, guys, and already I'm sure. When I was sitting in your place and man told me this, I was already sitting and my mind was giving me 5 reasons why I can't do it. Right? And I hope that this video helps you find one reason why you can. This video is from 2015 when I first met Web, and Fajaz Singh, if you must know, is still alive and well, and he's still running. And as you saw in the video, he completed his first marathon at the age of 89. It's never too late. I started doing all this fitness business in my 30s. I'm just here because if I can do it in my 30s, I think if you start in your 20s, you can know what the advantage is. But that's the message that I want to leave with you. Thank you. So I'll just move on to the next part of the session. If there are any questions before we move on. Yeah. So now we come to the session, about winning at the workplace. And I'll try and share some of my own learnings and the learnings that I have got, in nice and not so nice ways from all my managers and bosses. And I'll talk about how and why to stay humble. How is it that you want to build your brand and why it is important, and how you want to craft your career journey. So I'll start with humility and openness, and this has been something that is really a pivotal thing in my life, and I owe it all to my mentors to showing me the right way. I think that imagine you yourself, you're doing an internship or you've joined as a management trainee, and you're young and full of ideas. Now, one of the things why you've been recruited into the organization is because you guys bring young ideas, right? You have flesh blood, you're not biased by the errors and the legacy of the past, and hence you are there to bring new ideas. However, what I have learned is resist the temptation resist that temptation of everything needs to be learned. To borrow a phrase from my boss Saurabh, when you are a management trainee and you walk into an organization, everywhere you see is a problem, right? And life is a broken anda, as he used to say, right? And that's great. That's a great perspective. But what is important is that you try and resist this temptation of changing everything immediately. Try and spend time understanding why things the way they are. Because while you have been brought in for the mandate of change, it is also important that you don't make obvious mistakes. Right? And that is something that I'm telling you from experience that I have made. And then, there are a lot of positives as well, right? It's good to be not biased, but resist this temptation to change everything. And that comes from humility. Everything that is there for a reason. You should understand the reason. The underlying reasons could have changed, right? And hence the transformation need is there, but still understand why things the way they are. And actually, if you spend your time, if you're doing a transformation project, if you spend your time interacting with stakeholders, many times the best way to get buy-in on a project, on a transformation project, is actually ask the stakeholders what would they like to change, and then present it as a voice of the customer or the voice of the stakeholder, so that everybody feels that it is actually emerging organically rather than your idea. You have to keep your ego at the bay if you really want to affect real transformation in organizations. Right? I think that one of the reasons why I stress on humility is that everybody in this room is intelligent, right? And the MBA selection process has ensured this. Right? All of you have gone through a rigorous selection process, and you guys are above average. Not everybody at your workplace will be as intelligent as you, right? And this is something that is very important to understand. Because they are not as intelligent as you will have to learn, because you are managers and you are would-be managers, you will have to learn to work with people who are less capable and intelligent. If you are explaining something to somebody and they are not able to understand, it is your responsibility to explain it to them. You cannot shrug off your shoulders and say, oh, this person doesn't understand, he doesn't have the mental capability for my ideas. If you are the change agent, you are the new person in the organization, they are there, right? And you are trying to make a space for yourself, and people can really write you off. And people can call you arrogant, and people can feel that you are arrogant if you really don't display that humility. Right? So, respect for the ideas that are already existing, respect for the processes that are already existing, understanding why they are there, respect for the people that are there in the organization, that is the starting point that paves way for your success. Right? Perception is reality. This is another important learning in terms of humility. Right? You will often get feedback at the workplace that you don't agree with. You will be told that you are arrogant, you will be told that you are lazy, you will be told that you are a perfectionist. Often this feedback is something that you will not agree with. You will feel that the person doesn't know me. Perception is reality. Appreciate this phrase. If somebody is feeling it, that is a reality for them, and it is your job to change that reality. Right? And hence, if you want to change perception about yourself, the first thing that you need to understand is feedback is a gift. Right? And if somebody is giving you feedback, rather than being defensive, take a deep breath, hear them, hear what they have to say, and then implement. You don't have to accept everything that they say, right? And you can cross-check. But perception is reality. If somebody is feeling it, you cannot just deny their reality. Right? So that is something that is an important learning that I want to leave with. Okay. Now the last thing that I want to share on humility is that, and this is a question that you should always be asking yourself. If you are really a change agent, right? And why I keep talking about change agent is that what I hear is that a lot of people in this room want to pursue consulting as a career option. So how many want to pursue consulting? Okay. Consulting, yeah, okay. So if you really want to be a consultant, internal or external, if you want to be a change agent, I think that you will often find yourself at the center of debates, and you will be having a lot of debates and arguments with people, and one of the things that you should always ask yourself is that, are you trying to prove your point, or are you trying to get things done? If this is a question that you ask yourself, you will never be, on the wrong side of your ego, and you will always be trying to get things done. Don't fall in love with your ideas, guys. This is the learning that I had from Joe Rogan, and he keeps on repeating in many episodes, is that somehow we have this thing where we hold on to our idea like parts of our bodies, and if somebody negates an idea, it's like actually chopping off one of our hands. So we are really afraid to let go of our ideas and change our minds. Whereas if you ask yourself this question that, am I trying to prove my point, or am I trying to get things done and move forward, you will always be in the good. Okay. So just, these are my thoughts on humility and openness. Any questions if anybody wants to ask? So the point, so I think it's there in the phrase, right? You are not just holding on to the idea because it's your idea. Right? You're trying to find the better argument, and if somebody is actually, you're walking into the room with an open mind, if somebody is giving you arguments which are actually critiquing and attacking good parts of your argument, right? You are actually open to being your mind changed. If you are walking into the room with your mind completely made up, then there is no scope for discussion. In fact, an associated concept that I want to bring up here is, how many of you know what is straw manning versus steel manning? Can anybody differentiate what a straw man is versus what a steel man is? Okay, I think everybody would have heard what a straw man is, right? Yeah. So basically, straw man is a term that is used pejoratively when somebody is critiquing somebody else's idea. They make a straw man, which is actually a weak projection of their idea, and then they attack it and they critique it and they hopefully destroy it, and that's why it's called a straw man, because it's very weak already. If you really want to be having an open mind, and that's where, the first part of my session of getting multiple perspectives really helps, is because you have heard all sides of the argument, the best place to be in is if you are able to create a steel man of your opponent's idea. That means that you are able to represent your opponent's idea as its strongest. And if you are able to demolish or at least critique their ideas as a steel man, then there is something valuable that you are bringing to the conversation. Okay. Anybody else with any questions on this? Okay. Okay. I'll just move on to the next part. Right?
Sir?
And yeah. Yes, please.
Sir, how do you break out of that cage of being defensive when someone targets you or something?
Yes. So I think very, very relevant question, and I think it starts with, as I said, and that's why I told you that your ideas and your beliefs, we wear them as clothes, right? So I am a Republican, or I am let's say I am supporting this party, or I am supporting that party, or I am let's say I am a social democrat, or I am a capitalist. We wear that, and it defines so much of our identity at times, right? And it is actually become so much part of our, embedded in our identity. Letting go of that and divorcing yourself from your ideas, because you are still growing, right? I would assume all of you are actually under 30, right? You still have a good 70 years, right? I mean, you're still going to grow. So your ideas are not part of your body. If you start with that, I think humility will follow. The other thing that I think, very good, very relevant question, and I'll maybe introduce another concept that man gave me. How many of you have heard about the Dunning-Kruger effect? Does anybody know? Okay, interesting story. So there was a study, I don't remember which college, but so they interviewed a lot of people, around their math skills, right? And what they found was that people who were good at math rated themselves lower than the people who were actually bad at math. Right? it's actually a scientific way of putting what all of us know, that people who know more feel that they know less, right? People who know less, they are more certain about their beliefs, right? Because they know only so much, they feel that they know everything that is there to know. Whereas the people who know more, who gain more knowledge, actually know a lot of things that they don't know. So their eyes are actually open to the unknown unknown or the known unknown, right? And hence, Dunning-Kruger effect really entails that if you have certainty, there is something wrong, because certainty only comes with half knowledge. If you have more knowledge, you will never be certain, and you will always be, you'll always give both sides of the argument, because you see and feel genuinely, right? So while I talked about straw manning, it is not about actually winning the argument, guys. You know the argument and you appreciate the argument on both sides. That is when you are actually, feeling enlightened, when you are bringing something to the conversation. Okay. Okay, but brilliant question. Thank you for asking. Okay, so I'll move on to building your brand, and I think hopefully you can find some useful tips, to apply in your internship and your management training career. Yeah. So building a personal brand, I think this is something that all of us know, that how important it is. It is no longer that only organizations have brand. It's your own personal brand that is there, and if you build your personal brand carefully, that is something that stays with you and really pays you dividends across your career. What is it that you want? What is a brand, right? You want to be known for something. What is Nike known for? When you think of Nike, it is fitness, right? When you think of Tata, what is the brand Tata known for? Trust, right? Reliability. So it doesn't matter. Tata can stamp its brand to anything. It can stamp its brand to TCS, or it can stamp its brand to Tanishq, or it can stamp its brand to steel, right? But it's the trust that Tata has been there. One of the other things that Tata brand really entails as an organization for me is integrity, right? And that's why everybody was very satisfied and happy, and you would have seen all those posts on social media when Tata was the group that acquired Indian Airlines, right? Yeah. So I think that is the kind of trust that Tata has, and that's how brands are built. If I had to choose, and if I was in your place, if I had to choose what is it that I want to be known for, I want to be known for somebody who always adds value to whatever they do. You don't want to be a person who turns in half-baked work, right? You always want to be a person that has already, when something is given to you, you're already putting your maximum into it, and that means that as a management trainee, if you're making a submission, you've already done. It is frustrating to see that you've already done your Google search. It is frustrating to see in 2022 also that sometimes youngsters will turn in work without even a half decent Google search. You need to have a passion for excellence. That needs to be your brand. That if something has come from your desk, it has to be top class. That's the kind of brand that you want to build for yourself. More on that, I think I talked about Google search, right? And this is again, Google search is again a meta skill. How many of you have ever tried to search how to become better at Google search? How many of you know that there are terms in Google search that you can use to enhance your search? How many of you have ever used Boolean parameters in your Google search?
Sir, there is Google Scholar also.
Yes, absolutely there is. So I think, yeah, everybody's saying yes. I think that becoming better at search is actually a meta skill, and you can just spend 10 minutes and it can improve, because we are using Google all the time. If your search is better, you'll be finding what you're looking for and finding the most relevant thing faster. Right? So do invest time in actually learning to search. And coming back to excellence, the other brand that you want to build for yourself is you want to be Mr. or Mrs. Dependable. You must respect timelines, right? I think that one of the classic problems that I have seen, one of the classic reasons why submissions get delayed One is obviously that you didn't respect the timeline. Let's say you did respect the timeline, and still the submission got delayed. The first and most important reason, you were not clear of what needs to be done. When the project briefing was happening, you were too shy or too proud to ask questions. Never do that, guys. When the project briefing is happening, you must take notes. You can never ever go back to your seniors and ask them again. That's not a good brand that you're building for yourself. The second thing is, you were trying to perfect it. Because you were trying to perfect it, hence it got delayed. Excellence is a virtue, but it doesn't come at the cost of delays. Something is urgent, it has something, you have to respect the timeline. In fact, what is the absolute worst thing that you can do? Having your boss find out that something is going to be delayed after the timeline has passed, right? So let's say worst case scenario, the things are running delayed for whatever reason. You must tell and align expectations beforehand. If your boss finds out after something has got delayed, the time for course correction has passed, right? And that creates a dent in your brand. You must always stress that if it is you will demonstrate the highest level of ownership. If it is coming from your desk, it will never be delayed. If it is given to so and so, I can just forget about it because I know that it will happen like clockwork. That's the kind of brand that you want for yourself. Okay? More on building your brand, things to never catch yourself doing or saying. If you really accept and if you really imbibe what I say, you will never utter these words at a workplace. You will never say, it's not my fault. Okay? Repeat after me. I will never say, it is not my fault. Guys, you will be in situations where multiple departments and people are responsible, right? But if you are a leader and if you aspire to be a leader, you will demonstrate ownership and you will take charge of things. You will never say, I'm organizing a training program and I took care of the trainer and I took care of the materials, but admin didn't bother to set up the room properly. If the training doesn't go as planned, whose fault it is? It is my fault because I was not there in the training room 10 minutes prior ensuring that admin didn't do its job, right? So in an organization, these responsibilities are always floating. People who get recognized as leaders take the leadership charge, right? So if you demonstrate ownership, you will lead the pack. That's what you want for yourself. You don't want to be a follower, you want to be a leader. So own the outcome, guys. It doesn't matter who is responsible for it. One of the other ways, that I can demonstrate this is, and I'll come back to the excellence bit. You're working on something, you're improving something, or it has come to you after edits from many people and now it is going out from your desk. And you're supposed to just add something very minor to it and just send it across. If it is going from your desk and you find mistakes in it, which were not done by you, it is your responsibility to correct it. That's the kind of ownership that you need to display. If that means that you have to go back and rework what somebody else did, do that. But never hurt your brand. Because if you are the last person or if the ball is passing through you, people should feel that you added value. People should feel that if it has gone through his eyes, there is an additional level of check that has happened. Okay. The second thing that I will never say, repeat after me, I will never say, I forgot. You are not allowed to forget, guys. It comes back to the same point. When you are being told, you will take down notes. I can almost hear my manager in my mind. Saurabh, are you noting it down? Right? Because it would be so frustrating. She would narrate the entire project brief for 10 minutes or 15 minutes. And then, I would have still noted down less than 2 lines. And then, I would come back to her after 30 minutes. Hey, karna kya hai? Right? You don't want to be caught like that, guys. You will not forget. You will always remember. You will always maintain a tracker of priorities. Your boss will just keep, walk down the aisle, give you one small task, and you forget about it, right? And then, 9 times out of 10, you know, you will do it, but once you will forget. That hurts your brand. If it is, don't rely on your memory. I don't have a good memory, right, guys? I don't rely on my memory. I use some tracker or some tool to remind me, but your brand should be, I don't forget. If it is told to so and so, it is done. You can just forget about it because it's done, right? That's the kind of brand that you want to build for yourself. The third thing that you will never catch yourself saying, repeat after me, I couldn't do it because I wasn't trained to. I will never say I couldn't do it because I wasn't trained to. Guys, you're MBAs, you're not rocket scientists. You're not going to invent rockets, when you go to your workplace. In 2022, everything at your workplace can be learned. If you're assigned a task, it is within your grasp to learn it. In 2022, the world is at your fingertips. More than any LMS can provide, there is the wealth of knowledge on YouTube. Don't expect people to handhold you. And yes, that applies to PowerPoint and Excel as well. If you're struggling to apply a formula, you cannot go back to your boss and say, I couldn't make this spreadsheet because I was not trained on Excel. Sorry, you guys attended 2 years of MBA. PowerPoint and Excel is something that you should have learned already. And if you don't know, you're going to find out how. But you will never say, I couldn't do it because I wasn't trained to. And you will not expect people to handhold you. Learning new skills is your responsibility. If the organization helps, that's a great thing. But learning new skills is your responsibility. Okay? The last thing that I will never say, I will never catch myself saying, I will never say, I can't deal with XX person. Repeat after me. I will never say, I can't deal with XX person. Guys, you're not in school anymore, right? Leave your ego and your fears at the door. There will be uncomfortable conversations, there will be people who will attack you, there will be people who will be vicious to you. But you can never go back to your boss or a superior and say, इस बंदे से मैं नहीं deal कर सकता, इस बंदे के साथ आप deal करिए. You will never say that. That's not your brand. Because you are there, you're delivering a job, right? You will never ever back down, and you will never ever, lack the courage to go back to any stakeholder and do your job, right? So you will never say that I can't deal with XX person. Right? Any questions? I'm done with this part of the session. Okay.
What are the tendencies? What which pull you down in your entire career?
Okay. Sorry.
What are the tendencies which pulled you down in your entire career?
Okay. So first one was my ego, definitely. And when I'm talking about these things, guys, I'm learning. I'm speaking from my own experience. I had those painful experiences when I had to deal with somebody who was less intelligent than me, and I gave up. Right? I was put on those situations where it was not my mistake, but still blame was put in on me because I was the last person handling the buck. And I learned from these experiences. That if I am aiming to be a leader, I have to start behaving like a leader first. Like the position comes later, the behavior comes first. Right? That's what I've learned. And I'll talk about my career journey as well. So when I talk about the last part of the session, which is about crafting your career. But any more questions on building your brand or thinking of the same?
So you talked about men.
Yes.
Mentor. So in student life, it is very difficult to find mentor, especially because of lack of knowledge or lack of guidance. So how to find mentor, right mentor?
Okay. So I think that most people, if you ask them nicely, will be happy to mentor you. Right? That's how I have experienced, and I think LinkedIn and social media has really changed things. And sessions such as this are in a way a case in point that people are always happy if people like Sonam ask them nicely. Thank you for that. Right? So I think that is something that has really changed. And do find the courage to approach people. I think if you ask 10 people, definitely one will say yes. But at the same time, I would say that mentoring is something that comes in a bit later in life when you actually have some work experience. Right now you're in the learning phase, and I would say I would pull you more towards the first part of my session. The world is your mentor, and if you start acquiring ideas, actually, the best authors in the world are actually your mentors. Okay, so we'll come back to this, guys, and there will be plenty of time for questions. So I'll now talk about crafting your career. I'll start with something very simple and hear it from an HR professional, guys. Corporate titles are made up. Okay, corporate titles are made up. It doesn't matter if you are a manager or an assistant vice president or a vice president. What matters is the role, and I'll demonstrate this when I narrate my own career journey. But one of the things that is very important that I want you to take away from this session is that never run after titles, because titles will come, and the titles are made up, guys. If you go to organizations, I'll not name them, but if you go to many organizations, especially startups, they'll give you very fancy titles at the start of your career. It's ultimately the role that matters, right? And you can be just a manager and be doing a lot, versus you can be a vice president doing absolutely nothing. The other important thing is that when you're crafting your career, it is all about the experiences that you are gaining. If you're just gunning after that promotion and for that title, you're not playing the long game, and I'll talk more about that. But another important thing is, because you are running after the title, you are evading the truth that the person makes the role. Okay, this is a truth that I learned from one of my mentors and managers. The person makes the role. For the same role, that my manager did when I was in Ecom, the role appeared to be very small, and it was seen in a very, very different light.